For over 1,000 years, the Zarn Dominion ruled the galaxy. They were not just powerful, they acted like gods. Their ships were huge, dark monsters that floated across the stars. Their weapons could destroy a city in seconds. Their voices made other species kneel in fear. The Zarn believed they were born to rule, and until now no one had dared to challenge them. They moved from one planet to another, crushing anyone who refused to obey. Many species had tried to resist in the early days, but the Zarn always won. They burned homes, broke cities, and enslaved millions. Every time a new race stood up, the Zarn made an example out of them. Other species watched and stayed silent, too afraid to fight. Even the bravest leaders knew it was useless. Against the Zarn, no army had a chance. Their empire was strong, their fleets were endless. To the galaxy, they were unbreakable. In a large Zarn war room, tall commanders stood around a glowing map of space. They laughed as they watched their fleet crush another small planet. The people below cried for help, but no one came. It was normal. No one would dare stop the Zarn. But today, something was different. A message had come in. A strange ship had been spotted near the outer edge of the galaxy. It had destroyed a pirate base in seconds. No one knew where it came from. It didn't match any known design. It didn't answer hails. It was fast, silent, and deadly. It must be a trick, one commander said. Maybe stolen technology, some local warlord trying to scare us. Another one replied, "Perhaps, but it destroyed the base without firing a single shot. The whole station just vanished." They all turned to their leader, a tall figure with silver armor and glowing eyes. His name was High Lord Serax. He was the one who had burned 100 worlds with his own hands. He had never lost a battle. He smiled coldly. "Send a scout fleet," Serax said. "Let this ghost ship know who rules the stars." The Zarn sent a group of 5 warships to investigate. These were not ordinary ships. They were heavy cruisers, made for total destruction. Each ship could wipe out a continent alone. As they flew through deep space, the pilots joked with each other. One even said, "Maybe we'll catch something interesting for once." But none of them were ready for what was waiting. In the darkness, the human warship stood still. It didn't hide, didn't run. It just waited. The Zarn ships came closer, weapons charged. Their sensors scanned the strange vessel. It was smaller than expected. No crew signals, no open channels. It looked dead. "Easy. Kill," one Zarn captain said. They locked weapons. Warnings were sent. No reply. Just silence. And then, in less than a second, everything changed. The human warship moved, but not like anything they had seen before. It twisted through space, like light itself bent around it. One of the Zarn ships exploded instantly. No missile, no laser, just a flash, and it was gone. The second ship tried to fire, but its systems shut down. The third was torn in half by a blast of pure energy. The last 2 tried to retreat, but only one escaped. The survivor limped back to Zarn command, damaged and broken. The report came in. High Lord Serax listened in silence. "A single human. Ship?" he asked. "Yes," the officer replied, shaking. "It spoke to us after the attack. Just one message." Serax raised his chin. "Play it." A cold voice filled the chamber, not angry, not loud, just calm. "You are not gods. You bleed like everyone else." Silence followed. For the first time in 1,000 years, the Zarn felt something they hadn't known in generations: fear. But Serax was not ready to accept it. He stood tall and pointed at the stars. "This is no god, just a trick, a machine. We will show them the power of the Dominion. Send 50 ships, find that warship, and destroy it." The orders were sent. A massive fleet, stronger than anything ever used against a single enemy, moved out. Across the galaxy, smaller species watched from the shadows. The name human began to spread, quietly, like wind before a storm. Could it be true? Could someone finally stand against the Zarn? The Zarn ships reached the area again, sensors wide open, weapons ready. They scanned every corner of space. "Where is it?" the fleet commander shouted. No answer. The human ship was gone, no trace, no signal, just cold silence. Then, one by one, the Zarn ships lost their sensors, then their lights, then their engines. They tried to fight, but nothing worked. In the middle of all their screens, a new message appeared. "We are not here to talk. We are here to end your empire." And then, the human ship appeared in front of the flagship. It didn't fire. It simply locked on. Inside the Zarn ship, alarms screamed. The captain yelled to activate shields, but it was too late. A strange light built around the human ship. It wasn't a normal weapon. It was something new, something terrifying. In the final second before impact, one of the crew whispered, "This is not war. This is judgment." And then, the screen turned white. Everything went silent. The Zarn Dominion was silent. Their proud fleet of 50 warships had vanished. No distress calls, no escape pods, no survivors. It was like they had been erased from space. The High Command didn't speak for hours. They just stared at the empty signals. For the first time, they didn't know what to do. High Lord Serac stood alone in the war chamber. His glowing eyes flickered. His hands were tight fists. His empire had never lost a real battle. Now, 50 of his best ships were gone, and one small, unknown ship had done it. "This is not possible," he growled. "Nothing can do this. Not a single ship." But deep down, even Serac knew. It had happened. Something powerful was out there. And it was not afraid of the Zarn. Across the galaxy, other species began to whisper. The human warship had become a legend in just a few days. They called it the Ghost. Others called it the Revenge of the Broken. No one knew where it came from. Some said it was a lost weapon from an ancient war. Others believed it was a punishment sent by the universe itself. But only one thing was clear. It had destroyed the Zarn fleet like it was nothing. Far away, the warship floated quietly near a dead star. Its surface was black and smooth, with no marks, no flag. It didn't look like a normal human ship. Its design was sharp and strange. Its systems ran in complete silence. Inside, one man stood at the command station. His name was Captain Riker. Riker was not a god. He was not even a hero. He was just a soldier. A soldier who had lost everything. 10 years ago, his colony was destroyed by the Zarn. His family, his people, his whole planet, gone in fire. The Zarn never answered why. They didn't need a reason. That's what gods do. They destroy because they can. But Riker survived. And for 10 years, he planned. He trained. He gathered tech from forgotten places. He built his ship in secret with stolen AI and weapons from fallen empires. It was built not just for war, but for revenge. He named the ship Judgment. Now, it was ready. And he had sent a message the galaxy could not ignore. His eyes scanned the star map. Zarn space was huge, but every empire has weak points. Fuel depots, communication towers, shipyards. He smiled without joy. "Let's see how loud you scream when someone burns your home." The AI voice inside the ship spoke softly. "Target. Zarn communication. Array. Sector 9. Defended by 20 ships. Command towers within range." "Plot course," Riker said. The ship moved. It didn't use normal engines. It slipped through space like it bent the rules. No sound, no trace, just shadows and silence. Hours later, the Zarn communication base was busy. Officers laughed and argued. They still didn't believe the rumors. They thought the missing fleet was lost in a wormhole or hit by old mines. No, one believed one ship could destroy so much. A junior officer ran into the command room. "Sir, unidentified object just entered orbit." "What is it?" It's that ship." The laughter stopped. Alarms screamed, weapons turned, ships launched, but they were too slow. The judgment didn't wait. A beam of blue light shot across the sky. It didn't explode, it cut. Towers fell like toys. Data centers melted. Enemy ships tried to fire, but their systems shut down before they could launch. In 5 minutes, the base was in ruins. No survivors, no messages sent. And again, the human ship vanished. High Lord Sarax roared in anger when he got the news. "This is not a war, it's mockery!" He ordered full lockdown. "Protect the throne world, send every ship, I want this ghost caught." But Riker was already 3 steps ahead. He didn't attack where they expected. He didn't fight fair. He hit fuel lines, weapon factories, slave camps. Each time, he left only one message behind. You ruled like gods, now face justice like mortals. To the Zarn, he was a terror. To the other species, he was hope. Small rebellions began to rise. People who once feared the Zarn started to fight back. Not because they thought they could win, but because they finally believed the Zarn could lose. Sarax grew desperate. He called back ancient weapons. He even asked help from enemies. But nothing stopped the human warship. It moved like death, itself, and still, no one really knew who the pilot was. One day, a Zarn leader asked, "Why doesn't he speak to us?" Another replied, "He doesn't want to speak. He wants us to listen." Captain Riker sat alone in his dark ship. He looked at the stars. He wasn't finished, not yet. His final goal was still ahead. The Zarn throne world, the heart of the Empire, the place where the High Lords believed. They were untouchable. Riker's voice was quiet, almost a whisper. One more step, and the ship moved again, toward the gods. The Zarn throne world was the most powerful place in the galaxy. It was bigger than any planet the humans had seen. Its skies were filled with ships, its surface covered in cities made of shining black stone. Giant statues of Zarn lords stood on every tower. Their eyes glowed, always watching, like they believed they were gods. No enemy had ever reached this place. No enemy had ever tried. But now, one ship was coming. Captain Riker sat alone inside the Judgment, his ship dark and silent. He looked at the hologram in front of him. It showed the throne world glowing red. Dozens of warships circled it like angry wasps. Hundreds of defense cannons pointed at the sky. Thousands of fighters stood ready. It was a fortress, but Riker didn't. Blink, the AI voice spoke softly. Enemy defense net activated. Detection range increased. Risk level extreme. "I know," Riker said. His voice was calm. "But they're not afraid of anyone. Let's change that." He closed his eyes for a moment. He remembered the fire, the screams, the face of his little sister. Then, like always, he pushed those memories down and focused. He was not here for revenge, not only for that. He was here to end an empire. Far above the throne world, the Judgment arrived. It didn't come with noise or warning. It slid out of the darkness like a shadow. And the second it appeared, everything below went into chaos. Unidentified contact in high orbit. It's the same signature, human design, all batteries, fire. The sky lit up. Beams of energy, missiles, plasma bolts, everything was thrown at the small ship. But the Judgment moved like no other vessel. It didn't dodge. It phased. The weapons passed through it like it wasn't even there. Inside the ship, Riker whispered, "They still don't understand." The ship dropped lower. Defense drones swarmed toward it but disappeared the moment they touched its field. Zarn. Commander screamed in panic. "It's using technology we don't know! Shield penetration! Weapon bypass!" Then Riker struck. A pulse wave exploded from the Judgment. It wasn't fire. It was silence. Systems died. Lights went black. Communications froze. Entire defense grids shut down like someone pulled the plug. Half of the throne world went dark. In the capital city, High Lord Sarax watched the screen turn to static. "What? Is this madness?" "Lord," one of his generals said, shaking, "we are blind. We cannot shoot. We cannot see. The ghost is here." Sarax grabbed the nearest guard. "Bring every ship. Call every lord. He must not reach the tower." But Riker didn't go for the tower, not yet. He landed in the outer district, a place filled with slave pens, power plants, and weapon labs. For years, the Zarn used this area to torture, control, and experiment on weaker species. No one had ever escaped from it, until now. The judgment hovered above the camps and opened fire, not with bombs, but with light. The doors broke, the gates melted, the energy fields died, and suddenly, thousands of prisoners were free. Across the city, alarms wailed louder. "He's freeing the slaves! He's starting a revolt!" Riker's voice was calm. "Yes. Let's see how your empire stands when the people rise." The AI opened speakers across the planet. "This is Captain Riker," the voice echoed in every tower and every prison. "You are not alone anymore. You are not helpless. The Zarn are not gods. They can bleed. They can burn. Rise. Now is your time." The prisoners heard him, and they believed him. The revolt began. The throne world cracked from the inside. Fires burned in the lower cities. Guards were overrun. Command posts were taken. The rebellion spread like wildfire. Sarax screamed, "Send the elite guard! Destroy that ship!" But even the elite guards could not stop what was coming. Not just from Riker, but from the people. Then came the final blow. The judgment rose again. This time it aimed for the Sky Palace, the home of the High Lords. Riker didn't speak. He just pressed a button. A single beam, thin and blue, cut across the sky. The tower exploded. The symbol of the Zarn's godhood fell in flames. Everyone, slave, citizen, soldier, looked up and saw it fall. Sarax barely escaped. Covered in ash, he stared at the fire where his palace once stood. His guards were dead. His world was falling apart. For the first time in his life, he was afraid, and somewhere high above, Riker watched quietly. He didn't smile. He didn't celebrate. He simply whispered, "One more step," and the ship vanished once again, leaving behind a world in flames, a broken god, and a message no one would ever forget. You ruled like gods, now burn like men. Smoke rose from the ruins of the throne tower. Fires burned across the great Zarn capital. Screams echoed in the streets as rebels fought guards in every corner. The once mighty throne world looked like a broken shell of power. But even in the middle of this chaos, one thing became clear to every Zarn leader. They were no longer gods. High Lord Sarax sat on the floor of a ruined chamber. Dust covered his golden armor. Blood ran from a cut above his eye. His hands shook as he watched the tower screen flicker. The face of a human filled the display. Calm, cold, focused. It was Captain Riker. "I gave you a chance," Riker said, his voice steady. "You could have stopped the war. You chose pride. Now you will choose fear." Sarax tried to stand. You are one man, one ship. You cannot kill an empire." Riker leaned forward. "I'm not here to kill it. I'm here to show everyone that it was always a lie." Then the screen turned black. Sarax slammed his fist into the floor. His guards stood in silence, afraid to speak. Their lord, once worshipped like a god, now looked like a weak old man. Across the throne world, the rebellion grew stronger. Zarn soldiers deserted their posts. Some ran. Some threw down their weapons and begged the rebels for mercy. Others chose to hide, too afraid to face the people they once controlled. Riker's ship, Judgment, floated above the city like a ghost. It didn't need to fire again. The damage was done. The people had already risen. In the lower districts, rebels broke into more prisons. They freed families, children, old warriors, many who had been locked away for decades. Hope returned to their eyes. For the first time, they believed they had a future without Zarn chains. But Riker wasn't finished. His next target was not a weapon. It was a secret. The judgment flew toward the old data vault buried deep under the surface. Only the High Lords had access to it. No outsider had ever seen what was stored there. Until now. The vault was protected by shields, but the judgment moved through them like a ghost through mist. No alarm sounded, no system stopped it. Inside, the vault held the truth, millions of records, videos, and files, all the crimes of the Zarn Empire, all the lies they told, all the species they destroyed. Riker uploaded them to the ship's core. He sent them across the galaxy. The truth could not be stopped. On distant worlds, species once too afraid to fight saw the files. They saw how the Zarn had stolen planets, erased cultures, and experimented on the weak. They saw the faces of lost families. They saw Riker standing on the burning throne world. And they rose. Across the stars, resistance groups formed. Ships turned their weapons toward their Zarn rulers. For the first time, the Empire was on fire in more than one place. The rebellion had become a galaxy-wide movement. Inside the judgment, Riker watched the star maps. Red lights lit up across the sectors, each one a world rising. He didn't smile. He just stared. The AI spoke. Transmission complete. Revolts detected on 38 new planets. The Empire is collapsing. Riker nodded. Then it's time. Back on the throne world, Serac sat in silence. His council was gone. Some were dead. Others had fled. He reached for his communicator and did something no High Lord had ever done. He sent a message of surrender. To the human known as Riker, his voice cracked. "We at request peace. We will give you what you want. We will leave the throne world. Just stop this." The message echoed through the palace halls. Moments later, the sky turned black again. The judgment appeared, hanging like death itself. But Riker didn't fire. Instead, he opened a channel. "You offer peace now?" he asked. "Now that your towers are dust and your people are running scared?" Serax lowered his head. "Yes, we are not gods anymore." Riker was silent. Then he said, "Peace is not mine to give. You didn't take this world from me. You took it from the people. Now they will decide." He sent the message to every rebel leader on the planet. They didn't demand blood. They didn't ask for revenge. They wanted one thing: freedom. So Riker made one last announcement. The Zarn Empire is finished. Its leaders will stand trial before the galaxy. The people of every world will choose their future, and no species will kneel to gods again. As the words echoed across the stars, Riker turned off the comms and looked at the burning sky. The job was not finished. Not yet, but the gods were no longer in charge, and now they were begging for mercy. The throne world looked different now. The sky was still dark with smoke, but the streets were filled with people, not soldiers. Rebels walked beside civilians. Children played where tanks once stood. There were no Zarn banners. They had all been torn down and burned. In the center of the capital, a great court had been built. It wasn't made of gold or steel. It was made of broken stone and old metal. The people didn't need beauty. They needed truth. Inside the court, the former High Lords of the Zarn Empire sat in chains. Their heads were down. They looked weak, tired, and scared. The same leaders who once called themselves gods were now prisoners. Their golden robes were gone. Their crowns had been melted down and turned into chains. This was not a court for power. It was a court for justice. Captain Riker stood at the front of the court. He wore his black armor, still scarred from battle. His eyes were cold, but his voice was calm. "You called yourselves gods," he said. "You ruled through fear. You took from the weak and gave nothing back. You destroyed worlds. You erased names. And now, you will answer for all of it." The crowd around the court was silent. Many had waited their whole lives for this moment. Some had lost family to the Empire. Others had been slaves. Now they stood free, watching the men who once ruled. Them try to hide behind lies. High Lord Serax tried to speak. We did what was needed to bring peace," a rebel shouted from the crowd. "You call that peace? You killed my mother and called it order." Another voice joined. "You burned our cities. You turned our children into slaves." Serax looked down. He had no more lies. Riker raised his hand. The crowd grew quiet again. "We will not become like them," he said. "This trial is not about revenge. It is about truth. Every crime will be read. Every victim will be remembered." Then one by one the records were played. The first showed a peaceful planet bombed from orbit. No warning. Just fire and death. The next showed scientists testing. Weapons on prisoners. Then came the stories. Survivors spoke. One woman told how her brother was taken when he was 5. A man described how he dug graves for hundreds of his people after the Empire attacked. Each story cut deeper than the last. The High Lord sat in silence. They couldn't deny what was shown. The galaxy was watching. On screens across hundreds of worlds, people tuned in. The trial was broadcast everywhere. On planets once under Zarn. Control. People wept as they watched. They had been told for years that they were weak, worthless. But now they saw the truth. They had been victims of a lie. On Earth, humans watched too. Some were proud, others were angry. But all of them saw what one human warship had started. After 3 days, Riker stood again. "You ruled through fear," he said. "But now the galaxy sees you for what you are. Liars, cowards, and thieves." Then he turned to the crowd. "This court belongs to you. What shall be done with them?" The people shouted as one. "Let them be judged by the worlds they hurt." Riker nodded. "Then each High Lord will be sent to the worlds they once ruled. There the people will decide their fate." The High Lords began to cry out, begging, shaking. "Please, no! They will kill us! You promised a fair trial!" Riker looked at them without pity. "You had your trial, and the galaxy gave its answer." Later that night, ships carried the prisoners to the first group of free planets. Each one was met with angry crowds, full of pain and loss. But some worlds didn't choose death. They chose exile or prison. Others demanded the Zarn work to rebuild what they had destroyed. On one planet, a little girl looked at a captured Zarn lord and said, "You made me cry every night. Now you will plant trees until I smile again." Her words were stronger than any weapon. Back on the throne world, Riker stood in silence. The AI voice from his ship spoke gently. "Empire leadership dismantled. Power has returned to the people. What is your next mission, Captain?" Riker didn't answer at first. He looked up at the stars. "The galaxy is broken," he said. "But now it has a chance to heal." He walked through the streets, past the same people who once feared him. Now they saluted, not as a god, not as a king, but as a man who reminded them of their strength. The trial of the gods was over, but the real fight, the fight for peace, was just beginning. The stars were quiet again. The Great War was over. The Empire had fallen. But peace was not easy. Across the galaxy, old wounds still bled. Many worlds were free now, but they were also broken. Burned cities, shattered homes, lost families. People were angry. Some were afraid. And some in the shadows still wanted power. Captain Riker knew this. He stood on the bridge of the Vindicator, looking out at the galaxy. His ship had become a symbol, not just of power, but of hope. People whispered stories about him, the man who made gods kneel, the warship that spoke for the forgotten. But Riker didn't feel like a hero. He felt tired. His AI, Lexa, broke the silence. "We've received a signal. A rebel fleet has been attacked near the Orin line. Unknown enemy." Riker frowned. "I thought the rebels were helping keep the peace now." "They were," Lexa said. "But this wasn't the work of pirates or old Zarn forces. The attackers used cloaking tech. Very advanced. Faster than anything we've seen." Riker's eyes narrowed. "Who would attack peacekeepers now? The Empire is finished." Lexa paused. "Captain, I believe we have a new enemy." The Vindicator changed course. Riker ordered full speed to the Orin line. The stars stretched as the ship jumped into warp. As they traveled, reports came in from other systems. Attacks on rebel bases, sabotage on trade routes, strange signals from deep space. It wasn't random. Someone was testing the new order. On the edge of the Orin line, Riker found the wreckage. Dozens of rebel ships floating in silence. Some had been cut in half with one shot. Others were completely melted. It wasn't Zarn tech. It was cleaner, smarter, more terrifying. He sent drones to scan the wrecks. The AI reported something strange. "Captain, I found something. A mark burned into one of the ships." "What is it?" Riker asked. "A symbol. Looks like a broken crown." Riker's face turned dark. "Someone's trying to take the throne. Someone new." That night, Riker held a meeting with rebel leaders and free world commanders. They spoke through screens, many still scared, unsure. "We just finished a war," one said. "We're not ready for another." Another voice snapped. "If we wait, we'll be slaves again." Riker stood tall. "Listen to me. This enemy is not like the Zarn. They don't want to rule like gods. They want silence. They destroy without warning. No speeches, no lies, just death. That makes them more dangerous." A young rebel asked, "Then what do we do?" Riker looked into every face on the screen. "We do what humans do best. We fight, not just with weapons, with ideas, with unity. We build alliances. We watch each other's backs. We stay free, together." It was not an order. It was a promise. After the meeting, Riker returned to the war room. He looked at a map of the stars. Places where the Zarn once ruled now had no power. Lawless zones, perfect places for a new enemy to grow. He tapped the spot where the rebel fleet had died. "This is where the fire started," he said, "and I'm going to find out who lit it." The next day, Riker led a scouting mission into deep space. He didn't bring an army, just the Vindicator and a few brave pilots. They followed the signals, passed dead worlds, and crossed forgotten space. Finally, in the cold dark of Sector 12X, they found something. A ship. Not a Zarn ship. Not human. It was black like the void. No lights, no sound. It moved like smoke, fast and strange. When Riker tried to scan it, Lexa screamed, "Danger! Enemy hack in progress! They're trying to take control of me!" Riker slammed the override. The enemy ship turned. For a moment, nothing happened. Then it vanished, cloaked. "Shields up!" Riker shouted. But it was too late. The Vindicator shook, violently. A bright blue beam hit them. Not a weapon. It was a message. The ship's screen lit up. A voice spoke. Cold. Empty. "You destroyed your gods. Now we will erase your name." Riker's jaw clenched. "Who are you?" The voice answered. "We are what comes after gods. We are the silence." Then the screen went dark. The enemy ship was gone. Riker stared at the empty space. A new threat had risen. One that didn't care about control, only destruction. Lexa spoke softly. Captain, the galaxy is not safe anymore. Riker nodded. Then we don't rest. We protect every world, every voice. We stand between the stars and the dark. He turned toward the command chair. Prep for war. The galaxy waited. News of the new enemy spread fast. People across the stars were afraid again. They had just escaped the Zarn Empire, and now something worse had arrived. Something silent, fast, and deadly. The enemy left no names, no survivors, only fear. Captain Riker stood on the bridge of the Vindicator. The crew worked quietly. Everyone felt the pressure. They all knew one thing. This enemy did not want to rule. It wanted to destroy. Entire colonies had gone dark. Communications had been cut. Peace was falling apart again. Lexa, the ship's AI, broke the silence. Captain, we've tracked their signal. It leads to a star system called Korean 4. Unknown base detected inside a dead moon. Riker nodded. Prepare for battle. We finish. This today. The Vindicator moved through space like a ghost, stealth mode on, weapons ready. As they neared Korean 4, Riker spoke to his crew. This may be the hardest fight of our lives, but we can't let fear win. These things want silence. We're going to show them the sound of human courage. Inside the moon, hidden deep under the surface, was the enemy base. It wasn't just one ship, it was a fleet. Dozens of those black warships, powered by strange energy, were being built in secret. Their goal was simple: wipe out every free voice in the galaxy. Lexa scanned quickly. Captain, they haven't seen us yet. We have one chance to strike first. Riker didn't wait. Fire everything. Burn their nest. The Vindicator launched missiles, lasers, and shock torpedoes. The moon shook. Explosions lit up the darkness. Some of the enemy ships were destroyed before they even powered up. But others escaped. The enemy fought back. Their weapons were faster, smarter, deadlier. The Vindicator took hits. Systems failed. Lights flickered. Fire broke out in the engine. Room! Shields at 40%, Lexa warned. Riker held tight. Keep firing. Target their command ship. The battle raged for what felt like hours. Every second was life or death. Riker's crew fought bravely, but the enemy wasn't stopping. One of the black ships fired a pulse that shut down part of the Vindicator's systems. Lexa flickered. Emergency mode. Activating. Backup core failing. Riker rushed to the manual controls. I'm not letting this ship die. Not today. He rerouted power himself, hands shaking. The screens blinked back to life. The main gun was online. One shot left, Lexa said weakly. Riker aimed at the biggest enemy ship, the command ship, the heart of the fleet. Fire, he whispered. A bright beam shot through the darkness. It hit the enemy ship dead center. For a moment, there was silence. Then, the ship exploded. A giant wave of light and sound spread across the moon. The other black ships stopped moving. Their systems collapsed. Some crashed into the moon's surface. Others drifted dead into space. It was over. Riker leaned back, breathing hard. His crew cheered. Some cried. Lexa came back online, voice soft but steady. Enemy fleet destroyed. You did it, Captain. Riker didn't smile. He looked at the stars. We did it. Together. Later, the news spread across the galaxy. The black ships were gone. The enemy was no more. And once again, it was a human warship that saved the stars. But something had changed. People had seen what courage looked like. They had seen how even in the darkest times, someone would stand up and fight, not for power, not for control, but for freedom. Riker became more than a captain. He became a symbol, a legend, not just to humans, but to every free world. The Vindicator returned to Earth, damaged but alive. People lined the streets, watching as the crew walked down the ramp. Riker didn't give speeches. He didn't wave like a hero. He just looked up at the sky. He knew the galaxy would never be safe forever. But he also knew this. As long as someone stood up, The silence would never win. Somewhere far, in the empty black of space, a single black probe floated, still alive, still watching. It sent a signal, one final message. They stopped the silence today, but tomorrow it may speak again. And deep in space, beyond the stars, something listened.